Hey there, welcome to the Learning Crypto channel. If you are new, please do subscribe, hit the bell button, like and comment. Obviously, this one goes out to YouTube every Monday. So if you are in premium, you obviously get it first. If you're on YouTube, this is a taster to what you get in premium every single day. We're going to talk a little bit about the news briefly, but mainly it'll be analysis today because a lot of things are happening, obviously. We know what the title is of this video. So first things first, we need to talk about Coinbase. They are planning to share their information soon about what their private publicly, whatever the way they want to do it in terms of the IPO, because they are looking to get onto the Nasdaq, which is in some ways big, in some ways, when you think about it, ridiculous as well. When you think of where they've been, how they've grown, when they obviously got into the space, so it's quite an interesting thing to see that a cryptocurrency digital exchange that is based in the US is looking to get on the Nasdaq. It's some ways a massive feat, but also it's one of those things where you think, well, how centralized is it? What's it going to do? Is it going to impact negatively? So I don't know. It's always going to be interesting, but people want it. People seek and demand this sort of thing, but it just shows you how much industry's grown, I suppose. But yeah, Coinbase is still the biggest in terms of like the obvious to use as a newbie. We obviously recommend it as a starting point. It is without its problems, obviously, but with that being said, this may well boost it. Extra funding, extra capital might make things better. They might get more support staff. It might get a bit easier to use. Who knows? But yeah, some ways big, some ways random. It's one of those things for news. But other news as well. If I just click the latest news here, you're going to see a lot of information. Obviously, put 5% in Bitcoin. That's an obvious. Like a lot of people talking about money. I think it's because the market is so bullish. When you talk about it, it's savage. Even this, you got this person here talking bad about the world of crypto, or it's used for illicit activities, but it hasn't really affected the market at all. Where if you think in the past it would have done, but there's lots of information. There's lots of people wanting to buy into this speculative asset at the minute because of its scarcity, and that is the thing. The market has in my opinion, the market has totally changed at this current moment. Things are going well, but obviously, as I always say, please be careful with what you're doing with your money. Don't just ape into things because X, Y, and Z is happening in the news. Just be very, very careful. There's going to be so many misleading headlines and misleading videos as well, so just be careful. But as you can see by the news, obviously there's been hacks here, lovely, but that always happens. So just be careful, obviously. But for me, when you talk about Bitcoin, people are really excited, which is always nice. It says dominance. Let's talk about dominance first because this is the obvious. So I did a live video yesterday, and this was the line that I put on my chart. I didn't even look at it or edit it or anything. And it's pretty much on the nose where we want it to be in terms of you can see it. It's just lovely. That 63 level, which is where I plonked it. I don't know my exact coordinates, 62 point whatever that was. When I look at that and talk about it, this kind of looks perfect on that level. Now, the only reason why I put it on that level was on the daily time frame. I had a little look to see where things were stopping and turning around. The multiple taps around that region all the way across. And I thought, you know what, that'll do. And it's obviously tapped it on the nose pretty much, which is always quite good. But just be careful with obviously what could happen next. In my opinion, obviously Bitcoin did a little bit of a bounce, but I do think we will break below this. This is obviously going to find some level of interest of buyers into the market, and it's a Monday. Mondays will always see some sort of market reaction because the markets are back open again, essentially. So the Asian market's been open. Now we're into the London session, essentially. And obviously, as you're watching this video, you would know that there's been an American session. So it's fine. But it's one of those things where things will always bounce. And it's been quite a savage week, or 2 weeks, essentially, for the dominance chart. And we're hoping it continues. But this is still, in my opinion, looking pretty damn good, especially if you're looking at this in the long term, so to speak. What I do feel, though, what will happen overall, in my opinion, is we will see, obviously, if you're looking from this point here, I think we will see a bounce back up, obviously. I think it will find a level up there. But I do think we're going to correct back down lower. And you see the confluence here with this 57 level. In my opinion, I think if we do bounce back up, we may well see a 64 or a 65. Maybe, who knows, we'll see. Because at the end of the day, when you look at the Ethereum chart, it will kind of cool off a little bit. And if that is the case, well, we may well just see this happen anyways. A little bit of a retest of a certain level, then we may just go down. And 57 for me is the main one. Yes, I want to break 62, which is absolutely yes, obviously. But with, you know, you can see here in the past where we've broken it, we've retested it, we've slammed it. You know, it's some people think of it as the end of the world when we go retest things, but that's how retesting works. It's like you need to make sure that those ceilings are there in place, all support levels are there. But when you look at where this level is, where even 64, for example, there's multiple levels of confluence here between this level, all the way across here, all the way across. So I think 64 is probably quite likely as tap and then rejection from that point, in my opinion, okay? So just, you know, just because Bitcoin's going to go on a little bit of a 10 and maybe go up to 35k, who knows? But the coins that have done well over the weekend will chill out for a little bit, maybe a few days. It'll allow the dominance to go back up again, then we may well see further upside. But that'll be from the cycle of any coin movement. At the end of the day, they don't just gotta continue going down. Maybe, but we'll see what happens. But for me, overall opinion, I think a little blow off will usually lead to some sort of cooling down period. So just be careful. But for me, I think we will fly down. 57 confluence between that level is also key. So yeah, 57 is a one I want to break more than 63 for obvious reasons, because if we break below that, we've not been below 57 for a long time. We're looking April 2019. It's a long time ago. So that's obviously key. But let's look at the facts here of why this is doing certain things. Obviously, we know what's happening here with obviously Ethereum. We hit all-time highs, and we finally, we penetrated and went just above it for now. But I believe when you look at the weekly time frame, if we break above this is the highest we've been for a very long time, by the way. You know, we're talking 2018 levels here. Break above this and it becomes support and it carries on going. Obviously, that is going to be massive, like huge. And I feel that would be full-blown alt season mode. That would be full-blown turbo mode. We had an alt season last year, but it wasn't as sufficient. It was, yes, it was 3 months, but you got to remember how low the market was then. A lot of the lower cap coins were popping, the DeFi world. We're talking big caps here, the big uns. We're talking the likes of Cardano going up to maybe 50 cents at some point very, very soon because of how low it is. When you look at all the facts of the BTC pairs, they are still undervalued for the most part. You know, even if you look at this, it's really, really high. It's been what were yearly highs and whatnot, but that's fine. But a lot of coins are like, well, not so much yearly highs, but 2020 highs. Some coins did really, really big highs in 2020 and they came back down, you know, and they are about to gear up again. If they gear up and go beyond what they were in 2020, things are going to get very, very interesting very quick, and that dominance will drop even more. There's a lot of coins out there that really are below their 2020 levels, which is kind of key, but this is so low, in my opinion. When you look at where it's been in the past, look at that, it's savage. So this is interesting. This is very, very interesting as a dynamic of the market. Seeing this low and seeing that there's a big gap here that we can fill, that could be interesting. We will see a 2K Ethereum very, very quickly. Talking about the likes of the big, you know, the big moves. Obviously, here's one. He is VeChain. Last alt season 2020, boom. Still got a long way to go. You know, I can say the same for Utrust. Can't look at that one. Oops. RSI is another one. Still below the level. Boom. It's been a lot higher. Looking at the likes of Cardano, it's been a lot higher. Even 2020, boom. You know, these are like huge levels, and this isn't just like isolated to a few coins. This is like a lot of coins, so it's always worth keeping an eye on. But the reason why we've had a bit of a jolt this morning is because obviously Bitcoin found a level of support over the last few days. So it found a drop point, 28.5, and it's found a level of consecutive kind of levels. But we've just retested this EMA. If you zoom in a little bit closer, you can see it. Now, this is kind of important. I feel that we are at resistance levels. I think we are going to come down again. I think we're going to jolt down to 27 levels here, in my opinion, because I think this is just the way the market is looking. If you look at that, and I got battered on a video about this because I was saying, well, look at it. It's a downtrend. You got high, low, lower high, lower low. What we're going to have here, probably a lower high. Are we going to get above 40k? Probably not. Where we're behind the EMAs now, this is a level of resistance as well. What's going to happen next? Well, I think this is going to happen. In my honest overall opinion, oops, if that works, For some reason, TradingView doesn't have the same tracking as it used to. I think this is going to happen, in my opinion, and whether you like it or not, I don't care. This is a level of resistance right now. We're on resistance. It may blow up, but it may go to 35 potentially, but that's what I overall feel. I feel that the 22 to 20k level is real big confluence between the 50%, the 618, and the previous all-time high in the 618. So this whole level here around this point, I think we're going to get slammed at some point. I think not an aggressive move, but I think we're going to gradually, in my opinion, I hope if this is a way, I hope we gradually just trickle down into that region, because if that happens, alt seasons and altcoins will flourish, right? Because that's how it works. The cooling off period of Bitcoin, the money flowing out of Bitcoin into the altcoins to let them drive on a bit, and then Bitcoin does a natural correction as per, and will continue going down. But when you look at the fact of where levels can be, when you start looking at the fact, well, this is a key level, for me, overall, as an opinion, if that happens, well, I'll either be known as a hero or a villain. If it happens, people will either cry, or people will either be like, wow, you're cold, that's great. But when you start zooming out and looking at certain levels as well, when you look at the weekly time frame, look at where the EMAs are. We've got an EMA tab here with 30k. We've got another EMA here, 26, and obviously you got these the key levels of obviously the Fibonacci. But when you start looking at the fact of these levels here, where this could go, that's kind of an important level around that 21k level. That could happen very easily if I just make that really, really kind of obvious there. So yeah, who knows what could happen here? Realistically, who knows? But I personally feel that we are going to drop. My overall stance is obviously looking at the time frames, it's looking pretty damn obvious for now as it stands. But the thing with Bitcoin is, and I've always maintained this, there's always one catalyst on the news headlines that could change that massively, and the news is bullish as hell right now. Doesn't matter who you are, what you do. If people tell you that, oh my god, Bitcoin, and people are like, oh, I want to buy that, it's a bit of a different sentiment. So we'll see what happens, but the volume as it stands, it's flushing out, it's retracing, it's correcting as per. It's a downtrend right now, so I think there may be one leg down, and usually this last leg is usually the biggest, just saying, but we'll see. When we look at the USD prices, obviously Ethereum, what we've got to do right now is the obvious. We've got to move the all-time high ticker up. Bearish candle so far, but we may well, when you start looking at where it's been, we may well go much higher, in my opinion. I personally feel that we are going to go higher. I feel that we are going to break up above. The reason why I say that is because of obviously the BTC pairs. It depends on Bitcoin though. Stability needs to stay in the Bitcoin, as in, yeah, it'll drop down, but I think it needs to be not aggressive. If it just gradually just falls and trickles down nicely, nice and slow, no aggressive 10% drops here and there, it'll be much better for the market. It'll be much healthier, and I don't think people will flap as much. But overall, when you put that dynamic together with the BTC dominance chart, we will probably see this drop off very, very soon. It'll pull up and then probably drop off. The only reason why I say it's going to pull up is because everything will chill out for a bit. As you can see here, it's starting to chill out a little bit. There's a lot of the BTC pairs are still in negative sort of zones. Have hit a top and start turning around a bit. But these are just retracements. They've got to retrace at some point. When you think about it, there've been huge little rallies. Obviously, this is found a level of support here. We could go much higher, but you've got to be careful with all these. Some of these are in price discovery mode. The likes of this is obviously near a top. If it breaks above the top, it could go much higher. Obviously, Polkadot. I've mentioned before, RSR, level of resistance has been pushing this level so many times. It's just, it needs to get through it. Once it does, cool. But overall, in terms of the market, it's looking absolutely fine. When you think about the context of it, it's absolutely fine. Looking at the BTC pairs, just to put it out there, look at the last 7 days. For most of these coins, been absolutely brilliant, fine. There's so many people getting a bit, disgruntled because certain things aren't moving, but ultimately, everything is going as it should be right now as alt season. In the last 7 days, we've all been making money, especially in premium, especially watching certain videos. We've all been making some sort of money, and that's a good thing. That is the greatest thing about it, which makes it much better overall, in my opinion. So either way, things are lining up correctly at the moment, but we'll see what happens with dominance chart. I think if Bitcoin slows down a little bit today and everything else slows down, we may well see the drop off earlier than we expect. But it depends on Bitcoin ultimately. If Bitcoin's nice and chilled, we should be absolutely fine.